contain two major components. So the first one is biotic components and another one is abiotic components. So especially the abiotic components of aquatic ecosystem, especially temperature, carbon dioxide, oxygen, soil, water, pressure, nitrates, phosphates, so salinity, so ammonia, hydrogen sulfide. So these are the some of the abiotic components of aquaculture system. So in abiotic components, especially temperature is one of the major factor. So especially in aqua farming, the uh, pond temperature, especially 24 to 28 degrees of centigrade. So that is the major optimum levels of aqua farming temperature. So and another one is salinity. So salinity also one of the major abiotic factor. So salinity means number of ions. It's contain number of ions. So especially number of ions or number of salts, that is called as salinity. So especially the based on the salinity, the water is divided into three types like freshwater aqua farming, brackish water aqua farming, and marine aqua farming. So based on the salinity, the total water is divided into three types. The first one is fresh water, second one is brackish water, and third one is marine water. So in this salinity base, especially 0 ppt is called as fresh water. So 0 means 0 to less than 1. So that is fresh water. So that's mean no any type of salts. So or lack of salts in water. So, so that is the fresh water called as fresh water. And and second one is brackish water. So brackish water mean 1 to up to 28 ppt. So that is the called as brackish water. So that is the optimum ranges of brackish water farming. So above or greater than 28 ppt to up to 36. So that is called as seawater is nothing but marine water. So especially the salinity ranges of aqua farming. And another one is DO. So DO mean dissolved oxygen. So it is a major component of abiotic component. So especially in aqua farming, so completely depending on DO, especially dissolved oxygen contain. So especially the optimal ranges of DO in aqua farming 4 to 8 ppm. So that is the optimum level of dissolved oxygen in aquaculture farming. At the same time, pH is also one of the major abiotic component. So pH mean especially 7.5 to 8.5 is the optimum level of water pH. At the same time, one of the abiotic component of pH is also in soil. So especially the soil pH is 6.5 to 7.5. So that is very important. Water pH mean 7.5 to 8.5 and soil pH mean 6.5 to 7.5. So the above the 8.5 is water pH is called as alkalinity, and below the 7.5 is commonly called as acidic nature. So 7 is the neutral of pH levels. So this is the temperature, salinity, pH, and another substances, especially some kind of factors like nitrates, so and hydrogen sulfide gas, at the same time ammonia. So these are the some other components of abiotic ecosystem factors. Especially ammonia. Ammonia is one of the excretory material of aquatic species, not only fish. So total aquatic species excretory product is ammonia, like either fish or shrimp or lobster or crab, any aquatic species. So the final excretory product is ammonia. So ammonia is a one of the harmful product of aquaculture. So especially the optimum level of ammonia, that's been less than 1 or 0. So that is the major important factor of ammonia in culture pond. So that is the major abiotic factors, and another one is biotic factors. So biotic factors mean especially uh, flora and fauna, especially aquatic plants and aquatic animals, especially phytoplankton, zooplankton, so weeds or weedy plants, fishes, shrimp. So these are the total biotic factors of aquaculture. So in this aquaculture, especially the biotic factors very important. So the totally divided into some categories, especially producers, uh, primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, and finally decomposers. So producers mean to produce some amount of oxygen molecules or some amount of food molecules. So that is called as producers. So in aquatic ecosystem, the producers are especially in phytoplankton or algae or aquatic plants. So that is the major best example of producers. At the same time, consumers mean to consume the materials of oxygen or food molecules. So the consumers are basically divided into some categories, especially primary consumers, tertiary consumers, and primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. So primary consumers mean it is directly consuming from phytoplankton, like producers. So for example, uh, zooplankton is the one of the primary producers because of it is directly depending on phytoplankton. So are directly consuming phytoplankton. So that is the one of the example of primary consumer. And secondary consumers mean, so secondary consumers mean in aquaculture farming, especially small fishes. Small fishes are directly consuming in zooplanktons. So because of especially small fishes are commonly called as secondary consumers. And third one is tertiary consumers. So tertiary consumers mean, so these are directly depending on especially secondary consumers. For example, big fishes or large sized fishes. So end of the day, especially decomposers. Decomposers example is bacteria. So especially the tertiary consumers are after uh, completion of a life cycle. So the organic substances like organic dead and decaying material to convert into decompose. So that is the major process depending on decomposers, especially in bacteria, sometimes fungi. So this is the biotic ecosystem. So in biotic ecosystem, the producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, and finally decomposers. So uh, producers example is especially in algae or phytoplankton. Algae or phytoplankton. So because of the producers are to prepare own food material by using sunlight and carbon dioxide. So after that, primary consumers are called zooplankton, and secondary consumers are called small fishes. Tertiary consumers are called large sized fishes. So end of the time, so the decomposers are called as bacteria. Example, bacteria and sometimes fungi. So this is the major system of biotic system. So in this ecosystem, especially both factors, especially in biotic and abiotic factors. So especially yeah, in this farmer culture pond, especially the physical factor, especially temperature. So temperature is very very important. So temperature is one of the most important factor in aquatic environment. So in fact, the water temperature helps determine which species may not be present in the aquaculture system. So the temperature affect feeding, reproduction, uh, immunity, and the metabolism of aquatic animals. So all aquatic species can tolerate slowly seasonal changes better. So thermal stress occurs if temperature changes more than 1 degree to 2 degrees centigrade in 24 hours. So heat capacity of water is fairly high, which makes it resistant to changes in temperature and moderate the daily and seasonal climatic changes in temperature. So at the same time, pressure is also one of the abiotic factor. Pressure is also one of the abiotic factor. So pressure mean the pressure is at any subsurface position is weight of the uh, superimposed column of water. Superimposed column of water plus the atmospheric pressure at the surface. So pressure in water and depth increases rapidly become great that ultimately crushing effect is imposed on objects submerged to considerable depth. So because of the pressure is also one of the factor of abiotic factor, and uh, especially depth is also one of the abiotic factor in culture systems. So depth mean the depth of pond or depth of water body has a significant impact on physical and chemical properties. Physical and chemical properties. If ponds are too shallow, the sunlight penetrates up to the bottom. So especially the shallow water bodies, especially the ponds are to prepare on shallow, the sunlight easily penetrate up to the bottom. So warms up the water and increases productivity, and it is and this may leads to the eutrophication. So eutrophication is also one of the major process, especially this is depending on nutrients levels of water. So especially eutrophication mean the excess amount of soil nutrients. So it is to become to produce especially eutrophication process. So and the pond shallow then 1 meter get overheated in tropical summer, and vice versa in winter, inhabiting several of fish and other organisms. So especially a depth of about 2 meters is considered cognial cognial for obtaining optimal biological productivity in pond ecosystem. So based on the these reasons, especially depth is also one of the major physical parameter is nothing but abiotic factor. And light, especially light is also one of the abiotic factor. So transparency of water forms. Transparency of water forms one of the most important property of water body. So natural water bodies show a great difference in the degree of light penetration. So the water bodies also uh, slow seasonal and irregular variations due to the which they permit passage of light. So light exposure as a proponent of uh, influence uh, on the biological phenomena in water. So because of light is also one of the very important factor. So uh, uh, based on the light, so almost to develop especially in aquatic species. And another abiotic factor is turbidity. So turbidity also one of the abiotic factor. So the term turbidity refers to the decreased ability of water. So the term turbidity refers to the decreased ability of water. So based on the especially uh, organic and inorganic substances of water. So the light caused by suspended particles matter and phytoplankton. So the turbidity producing substances may be divided into two groups. May be divided into two groups especially based on the turbidity and especially depending on transparency levels in culture pond. So This is the major abiotic factors and biotic factors of aquaculture farming. So especially uh, biotic factors are producers, uh, primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers, and decomposers. At the same time, abiotic factors are temperature, pressure, and dissolved oxygen, carbon dioxide, and pH, alkalinity, ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, salinity. So these are the some important abiotic factors. And next, what are the properties of water? Like what are the chemical properties of water? So chemical properties of water mean especially uh, in this mean especially dissolved oxygen, carbon dioxide, and other kind of ions, especially carbon, oxygen, hydrogen. So these are the some important properties of important ions of water, like especially dissolved oxygen. So all of the dissolved oxygen gases in water. So oxygen is the most important for the survival of species, especially in aquatic species. So oxygen is the most important for the survival of aquatic organisms. A reduction in oxygen, a reduction in oxygen content of water reduces metabolism and therefore restrict development and growth of organisms. So especially on particular species, growth is directly depending on amount of DO, that's mean dissolved oxygen. So especially in aqua farming, the species like fish or shrimp or crab. So any type of aquatic organism, the total growth is depending on directly on amount of oxygen levels. So because of the dissolved oxygen molecules are very important for culture. And in nature, oxygen dissolve mainly by direct diffusion at surface and through subsurface agitation. Example, wave action and waterfalls and breeze and turbulence. So these are the some surface ignition methods. So direct diffusion from the air is a very slow process. So it diffuse alone operates. It diffuse alone operates oxygen diffusion at the rate of about 6 meters. 6 meters in a year. So high effective means of supplying oxygen to water is through ignition. So oxygen is mainly produced by the lateral zone, especially the pond is basically divided into some zones like lateral zone, lemnatic zone, propondal zone. So based on the penetration of light, especially surface is lateral and middle of there is lemnatic and especially bottom is propondal zone. So based on the penetration of light, the total either lake or pond is divided into some kind of zones. So at the same, the oxygen is mainly produced by the lateral zone. So because of main reason is the surface area contain some kind of aquatic species, especially phytoplankton and algae. So algae and phytoplankton is very important for culture or pond or natural water bodies. So because of these are directly preparing on food material. So by using carbon dioxide and light and others molecules prepare food material through the photosynthesis process. So because of lateral zone, especially the surface aqua surface plants are very important for culture. And the amount of oxygen derived from green plants depending upon concentration of plants and duration of effective light. So especially the uh, production, especially the pond productivity. So especially the species survival rate, growth rate, each and everything. So depending on especially the total amount of oxygen, especially how much amount of oxygen to produce in the culture pond. So based on the oxygen molecules, the pond aquatic organisms are survive. So because of this reason, dissolved oxygen is also very important for aquatic animals. So and another parameter is carbon dioxide. So especially carbon dioxide is highly soluble in water. So especially carbon dioxide is one of the waste product. But although the carbon dioxide is highly soluble in water, it is only a minor constituent of the atmospheric and equilibrium concentrations of carbon dioxide in water are small. When carbon dioxide is dissolved in water, so about 0.2 percentage of dissolved gases reacts with water to form a carbonic acid. So like for example, H2O. H2O is a formula of water plus CO2. CO2 is carbon dioxide. So especially to produce carbonic acid like H2CO3. So so that is the especially formula of carbonic acid. And the major sources of carbon dioxide in the aquatic environment. That's mean what are the uh, carbon sources of aquatic environment. So the first one is directly from the air. Especially air is also one of the source of carbon, like through carbon dioxide. And another one is to form groundwater meeting with a natural aquatic ecosystem. And third one is decomposition of organic matter. So for example, uh, in all aquatic species, especially either fish or shrimp or crab or lobster or any kind of aquatic species. So the total aquatic species body contain forming with organic molecules, especially carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. So simply saying in amino acids. So in this aquatic species dead and decaying after the body will be decomposed. So that carbon molecules are directly releasing in either water or soil. So that is the one of the sources of carbon. And another one is carbon dioxide is extremely necessary constituent in aquatic environment. So it is consumed mostly during the photosynthesis of aquatic plants by shell, especially the aquatic shellfishes. Shellfishes mean like shrimp is the one of the shellfish, and prawn is also one of the shellfish. Crab is also one of the shellfish. So, and lobsters are also one of the shellfishes. So the total species, the total body shell is prepared with calcium carbonates. That means CaCO3. CaCO3, that is commonly called as calcium carbonate. So, especially uh, during the especially once wait, carbon dioxide is uh, uh, extremely prepared, especially the aquatic species body is prepared with calcium carbonate. Based on this reason, the total aquatic animals are classified into two categories, like finfishes and shellfishes. So finfishes mean the body also having some kind of fins, like especially the best example is fish. Fish is also one of the best example of fishes. So because of the organism body contain different types of fins, like dorsal fin, pectoral fin, pelvic fin, anal fin, caudal fin. So the total fins are especially used in for the process of locomotion. So especially swimming purpose. So in aquatic environment. So the organism body contain fins. Because of that reason, the total species are commonly called as fin fishes. At the same time, the aquatic species body contain shell. The species body is totally covered with shell. So because of that reason, the species are commonly called as shellfishes. So for example, shrimp. Shrimp is also one of the shellfish because of the total body is covered with shell. And crab. The crab body totally covered with shell, hard shell. So because of the total cell is prepared by calcium carbonate. So because of this reason, the total aquatic species are basically divided into finfishes, and another one is shellfishes. And another aquatic parameter is alkalinity and total hardness. So alkalinity is also one of the major factor, especially abiotic factor. So an indicator of equation like especially hydrogen molecules, carbon molecules, and calcium carbonate molecules. So based on the total carbonates, especially depending on hardness or alkalinity parameters. So especially the sum of the concentration of bicarbonate, and the carbonate is called alkalinity. So carbonate and bicarbonate is called as alkalinity. So the total alkalinity of water is commonly exposed the units of equivalent calcium carbonate. So like how much of milligrams of calcium carbonates. So like the carbonate alkalinity is major aquatic abiotic factors. So this is also one of the important factor. And another one is salinity. So salinity also already previously discussed about the salinity. So salinity also very important for aquaculture systems or aquaculture practices. So so based on the salinity, so the water is also divided into three categories, like fresh water, brackish water, and marine water. So especially in the level of or concentration of ions, especially salts, uh, based on the concentration, the water salinity will be divided into three categories, like less than 1% or 0, and the second one is 1 to up to 28, and after 28 to 36. So based on these categories, the first one is fresh water, and another one is brackish water, and third one is marine water. So this is the total aquatic environment. So especially in aquatic environment, uh, water quality is very very important, especially aquatic ecosystem and water quality and soil quality. So these are the major factors of aquaculture practices. So coming to the next one is aquaculture, like aquatic water quality parameters.
Mr. Lovraj,
Sir,
hello.
sir, sir, చెప్పండి sir.
Do you have any PPT like that?
Tomorrow onwards, sir.
Yeah. It may be useful for the students because
Yes,
of
sir.
this time, not only from RC Vishakhapatnam,
Yes, sir.
the
Okay.
students from the across the country, we
Okay.
are the nodal regional center for
Okay.
this diploma in aquaculture program. That's
Okay, sir.
why we are recording these sessions also.
Okay.
After completing all the sessions, we are
Okay.
going to upload these recorded videos in our RC Vishakhapatnam YouTube channel. At the same time, we are going to share with all the regional centers to
Okay.
inform their students. That's
Okay.
why using of the PPT will make
Okay, sir.
also more effective. I think anyhow,
Yes,
our
sir.
teaching is also very effective. At the same time, it is supported by the some documentary evidence or some data like that.
Okay,
It is
sir.
going to help the students.
Yes, sir.
Uh, yeah. Please go ahead, Mr.
Okay,
Lovraj,
sir.
please.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Next, coming to the next one is brackish water environment. So already previous class discussed about what is brackish water and what is the concentration of brackish water salinity. So brackish water is a mixture of salts. Brackish water is a mixture of salts and fresh water varying concentrations. In nature, brackish water bodies, including running as well as standing water bodies, and are termed as eateries. So especially hatchery mean especially the open seamouth, especially uh, the junction in between either sea and river. So the complete region is called as brackish the complete region is called as eatery. So eatery region is also contained especially only for brackish water. So కాబట్టి in that brackish water contain to survive various number of species, especially aquatic species, different varieties of pinfishes and different varieties of shellfishes. So because of the eatery is also very very important for uh, especially aquatic species in that region, especially and for example, number of species are surviving in effectively in brackish water. So some species are especially surviving in marine farm, and after that, especially some reasons, especially for the purpose of breeding and furtherly, so some species are to migrate to freshwater through the eatery. So, for example, salmon fish. So, is also one of the migratory from sea to river and river to sea. At the same time, Elsa Elisha, so commonly called as Pulsa. Elsa Elisha, it is also commonly called as Pulsa. So this is also one of the migratory fish. So this one is also to migrate from marine water to fresh water, especially sea to river. So these species also especially to migrate, especially only for breeding season, especially in rainy season from July to September. So that is also migrate from the salt water to fresh water. So because of this reason, the species are commonly called as migratory fishes. At the same time, the brackish water environment is also very important. So because of the any migratory fishes and same located fishes are surviving in the especially hatchery region. So in this region contain surviving some species, especially the region also divided into some categories like aphotic zone, uh, photic zone, and benthic zone. So especially surface is aphotic zone and middle of the place is photic zone and bottom is called as benthic zone. So benthic zone mean it is less amount of light. Benthic zone mean it is a less amount of light. So because of all kind of parameters will be changed when compared to surface. So because of only some species, only some of these species are survived in benthic zone. So benthic zone is also called as dark region. So because of the light will be absent. So in this region, water parameters completely different from surface region. So especially the water temperature will be reduced and DO also will be reduced and other factors totally is reduced. So because of the reason, only some species will be survived in only benthic region. So the maximum amount of species are survived in only surface region. So that is the commonly called as aphotic zone or photic zone. So because of the aphotic zone contain high amount of light will be easily penetrated. So in that region, automatically uh, the number of algae and the number of phytoplankton species will be easily survived. So because of availability of light. So in this region, so each and every kind of aquatic species. So especially phytoplankton and algae and other kind of species are easily survived. So this reason, especially the benthic region species survivability is very low, and the aphotic zone the species survivability is very high amount of species will be survived. And another one is plankton. So plankton means it is a microorganisms. So plankton is very important for aquaculture and aquatic species for the purpose of feeding. So Plankton mean it is a microbes or micro organisms. Especially the planktons are classified into two categories. The first one is phytoplankton and another one is zooplankton. First one is phytoplankton and another one is zooplankton. So in fish culture system, where the fishes are not provided supplementary feed, so plankton forms of the most abundant base of the food webs. So especially any kind of fishes, especially either artificial culture or natural fishes. So first of all, directly depending on natural food. That's been natural food mean. So the first one is phytoplankton. Phytoplankton, algae, zooplankton. So these are the natural food for fishes. Phytoplankton, algae, zooplankton. So these are the natural food for fishes or aquatic species. So any kind of culture. So especially the aquatic species are first of all directly depending on aquatic natural food material. So like algae or phytoplankton or zooplankton. So because of this reason, the plankton species are very important for culture. Next, especially uh, the plankton are basically divided into phytoplankton and zooplankton. So the zooplanktons are especially to produce especially uh, DO molecules like dissolved oxygen molecules. So because of in this contain different varieties of species like in this reason the species to produce DO molecules like dissolved oxygen molecules, especially by the process of photosynthetic activity like photosynthesis process. So automatically both zooplankton and phytoplankton both are used for either fish or shellfishes food per aquaculture system. So kabatti, so this reason the plankton is very important for culture aquaculture, especially the total culture the fish like plankton growth is directly depending on um, nutrients of soil nutrients of soil either especially soil nutrients mean like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. So these are commonly called as soil nutrients. So this is the very important for soil nutrients for culture, especially commonly called as fertilizers. So at the time of pond preparation, the farmer should be applied such kind of fertilizers. So because of the first factor is to develop phytoplankton or zooplankton. To develop phytoplankton, zooplankton, and algae. So because of this is the one of the natural food. So this natural food is helpful for feeding of either fish or shrimp or prawn or crab or any kind of aquatic species. And another one is nutrient cycles. So nutrient cycles mean uh, nitrogen cycle, phosphorus cycle, carbon cycle. Nitrogen cycle, phosphorus cycle, carbon cycle, sulfur cycle. So these are the commonly called as nutrient cycles. So especially These kind of nutrients are very, very important for soil. So especially in nitrogen cycle. So because of the relationship among the various forms of nitrogen constitute the nitrogen cycle. So which is regulated primarily by biological activity like nitrogen constitute which is 78.1 percentage, nearly 78 to 79 percentage. So percentage in the environment. So especially the nitrogen is one of the major constituent of cellular protoplasm of organism. So especially any kind of organism body like either shell or tissues, so contain some amount of nitrogen molecules. So especially based on the nitrogen, automatically the amino acids will be prepared. So based on the concentration or number of ions, based on the amino acids, automatically the animal tissues or cells will be formed. So in this region, the nitrogen is very, very important for aquatic species. So especially in this nitrogen base, especially one of the processes called as nitrogen fixation. Nitrogen fixation. So nitrogen fixation is the conversion of nitrogen gas into the biological usable form. So nitrogen fixation means nitrogen uh, fixation mean conversion of nitrogen gas into the biological usable form. So especially nitrogen gas in the atmosphere. So the atmospheric gas will be uh, using usable form from conversion to the animal body. So biological usable form, especially in animal body. So the primarily pathway is called as nitrogen fixation. So in this cycle, especially uh, also two steps. The first one is fixation as a nitrogen oxide by atmospheric electrical discharges comes to the water as rainfall. So fixation as nitrogen oxide by atmospheric electrical discharges comes to the water as rainfall. And another one is fixation by bacteria and algae. So especially some some of the bacteria like Nasta to Anabena. So these kind of microbes are very useful for fixation of nitrogen. So especially Nostoc, Anabena. So these kind of bacteria are especially living in some kind of plants, especially green gram or red gram. So these plants roots also having some kind of root pockets. In these root pockets contain these kind of especially Nostoc Anamena bacteria. So especially these bacteria is very useful for nitrogen fixation. So commonly called as nitrogen fixation bacteria. Nitrogen fixation bacteria. So these are the major or two steps for nitrogen fixation process. The first one is atmospheric electrical discharges and comes to the water as a rainfall. And another one is fixation through fixation bacteria or algae. So these are the major important ways of nitrogen fixation process. In this way, another one is nitrification process. So nitrification process mean is the process in which uh, ammonia salts undergoes to bacterial nitrification. Bacterial nitrification. Ammonia is oxidized. Ammonia is oxidized through the subcontinental oxidation of several intermediate components of nitrate. Several intermediate components of nitrite and nitrate. So this process is called as nitrification. So these are the some important steps of nitrogen cycle. So especially the first one is nitrogen fixation and another one is nitrification process. And third one is ammonification. So especially ammonification and another one is denitrification is also one of the steps of nitrogen cycle. So denitrification means by the bacteria is biochemical reduction of oxidized nitrogen anions, with results of significant reduction of combined nitrogen. So that process is called as denitrification. That's mean the NO3 molecules are converted into NO2. So the NO3 molecules are converted into NO2 molecules. That's mean one oxygen molecules are deviated. So like N2 or oxygen molecules are separated. So that's mean respired by the microorganisms. That's mean respired by the microorganisms. So because of this kind of process is called as denitrification. So this kind of process is called as denitrification process. So especially this is very very important for nowadays in environment, especially nitrogen cycle. So nitrogen is very large quantity in atmosphere, like 78 to 79%. So in this atmospheric nitrogen is converted into earth, especially two steps. The first one is fixation of nitrogen by the electrical discharges, atmospheric electrical discharges, and through the rainfall water. And another second one is fixation bacteria and algae. So these are the major steps. So in this nitrogen cycle steps is furtherly converted into nitrification process and a denitrification process. Nitrification process and a denitrification process. Next. And coming to the next one is sulfur cycle. So sulfur is also one of the important factors. So especially major sources of compounds in natural waters include some sedimentary rocks. So some sedimentary rocks containing calcium sulfate and fertilizers and atmospheric precipitation. Atmospheric precipitation. So sulfur is released during geochemical weathering of rocks and soils containing either sulfides of free sulfur, which are oxidized, in the presence of water to form sulfuric acid. And in this sulfur, especially the sediments rich in organic matter release gases like hydrogen sulfide, which produces smell like rotten egg. These large quantities of reduced sulfur as hydrogen sulfide and are added to atmosphere from biogenic and industrial sources. So HVS, that's mean hydrogen sulfide gas, undergoes a number of a number of oxidative reactions to form sulfur dioxide. To form sulfur dioxide, which is immediately converted into sulfur trioxide, immediately converted into sulfur trioxide. That's mean uh, sulfur trioxide mean SO3. So, and then when comes in contact with water from sulfuric acid like H2SO4. So, sulfur dioxide constitute about 95% of the sulfur compounds resulting from burning of sulfur containing fossil fuels. So, the oxidation of SO2 to hydrogen sulfuric acid converted SO2 to H2SO4. That means the oxidation of sulfur compounds are converted to sulfuric acid. That means SO2 is converted to H2SO4 is a very fast process. And sulfur when enters in the aquatic ecosystem as H2SO4 immediately discaves to release SO4. So also also in lakes and estuaries and due to the erosion and weathering of sulfate. So it is released in water uh, column from the bottom sediments. So, and autotrophic organisms and many autotrophic organisms and many heterotrophic bacteria. So, normally obtain their from sulfuric acid, uh, sulfur from sulfuric acid in the medium. So, most of this sulfur extracted by aerobic organisms is in oxidized from through a very slow process. So, but practically all heterotrophic bacteria, so can liberate sulfur and hydrogen sulfide. So, this is the main process of the sulfur cycle. And coming to the next one is carbon cycle. So carbon is also very important for each and every organism. So because of the total organism body is forming of depending on carbon. So carbon is a basic building block of all organic matter, and fixation of carbon inorganic carbon in photosynthesis is the ultimate source of organic carbon for nearly all living organisms. So availability of carbon is seldom the first environmental factor limiting plant growth in pond. So carbon compounds can be broadly classified as inorganic and organic. Inorganic and organic. So especially it is uh, estimated that carbon dioxide transfer into waters is usually less than zero point 0.2 grams so per meter per day. So atmospheric carbon dioxide accounts for only a small percentage of carbon that is initially assembled in the plants. So especially the atmosphere contain 0.03 percentage of carbon, like not a carbon dioxide. So another source of inorganic carbon is replacement of dissolved carbon dioxide. So through the equilibrium of bicarbonates as a carbon dioxide is removed from the system. So bicarbonate replenishes the gas with associated removal of hydrogen ions, which causes the pH of water to rise. So aquatic plants, can use phytoplankton um, can use bicarbonate directly as a source of carbon. So the third and most important source of inorganic carbon is carbon dioxide. So produced in water bodies due to respiration of plants and animals. So especially the carbon main source is especially either a plant or animal respiration process. The dissolved organic matter excreted by phytoplankton serve as a substrate for growth of bacteria. So therefore, carbon enters into the heterotrophic chain. So like a detritus food web. So like microorganisms like depending on dead and decaying materials. So like especially decomposers. The detritus bacterial decomposition also produce carbon dioxide. So when enters to the pool or carbon dioxide evaporates for plant assimilation. Next, the organic carbon remaining. So after respiratory and excretory losses is either degraded after their uh, death or consumed by zooplanktons. So in zooplankton, it is assimilated in tissue. So loss in respiration or loss as excreta. So in both the cases, it is again converted into carbon dioxide and becomes available for plants. Like the carbon in zooplankton is consumed by fish. Zooplankton is consumed by fish and shows the same fate of zooplankton assimilation in tissues, respiration, and excretion process. So, in an aquatic ecosystem, through several procedures or stages, decomposition carbon dioxide is released that may either slowly into the water uh, diffuse into the water in the form of bubbles and then in air or be utilized by the plants further the assimilation process. So this is the cycle of carbon, especially organism body to atmosphere to again plant body to again animal body to atmosphere to again plant body. So this is the cycles of carbon. Next, and another topic is soil quality. Like soil quality means it is a aquatic pond soil quality. So in culture pond, the soil is also very important for the culture. Especially the first of all, the farmer is majorly identified in the quality of the culture pond. So like soil quality. So soil play an important role in aquaculture. So based on the major role in characterizing the water quality of an aquatic ecosystem, but much less attention has been paid to soil condition than water supply and water quality. So most aquaculture ponds are built from from built from a soil. The water is fish pond is a complicated system of equilibrium in which bottom active part. So like many dissolved and suspended substances are derived from contact with soil. So the pond bottom soils are the um, many substances that accumulate in the pond ecosystems and the site of chemical and biological process occurring the surface layers of pond soils that affect water quality of aquaculture ponds and productions. So bottom soil of ponds are called pond soils. So muds and sediments. So pond soil uh, do not differ greatly from terrestrial soil. So especially in major physical, chemical, and mineralogical features. The major differences between pond soil and agriculture soil is that pond soils are flooded almost continuously. The pond soils are flooded almost continuously. The pond soil are similar to wetland soils, but the dense higher aquatic vegetation typical of wetlands normally is absent from aquaculture ponds. So this is a major difference. And functionally, embankments that impound water and farm ponds are made up of soil. And especially this soil also contain some characters like soil textile, soil pH, and another components like soil textile, soil profile, soil color, and another kind of parameters. So like the first of all discuss about soil textile. So soil texture mean the pond mud consists of a mixture of inorganic soil particles. The pond mud consists of a mixture of inorganic soil particles of various sizes and organic matter in various stages of decay. So the texture of mud refers to the distribution of the particles by size. In order to assess texture, a sample of mud is dried and subjected a mechanical analysis. So the proportion of larger particles is determined by analysis and the similar particles by hydrometry. So the international system of classified into some kind of particles like gravel, coarse sand, fine sand, and silt and clay. So based on the diameters of the particles. So for example, gravel. So gravel is especially about 2 mm in size. Like that's mean that particles contain 2 mm diameter size. And coarse sand means uh, it has 2 to point 20. So that is the of coarse sand. And third one is fine sand. So it's contain 0.20 to 0.02 mm size. And silt. So silt means 0.02 to 0.002. So that is the uh, size of silt. So each and everything is also has in units. So and last one is clay. So clay mean below 0.002 size. So that is also called as clay. So based in these sizes are the total soil particles are divided into different categories like gravel, coarse sand, fine sand, silt, clay. So this is a very important. And and the common names of soils are common names are clay, clay form, uh, uh, clay loam, and silt loam. So the names of soils are obtained from a soil triangle like consists of 30 percentage of clay and 40 percentage of sand and 30 percentage of silt and soil triangle provide the names clay. So this is the major texture of the soil. And another important character is soil profile. So how to find out the soil profile? So actually, uh, soil is also having some layers or stratified lines. So these layers are developed due to the organic matter, input at the surface. So a decrease of weathering with depth, downward movement of fine or soluble um, particles by leaching and accumulation of leached components in particular layers. The individual layers are known as horizons, and the vertical sections through the horizons are called soil profiles. So the upper horizons are called surface soil, and the deeper but highly weathered horizons are called as subsoil. And surface soils are normally contain uh, more organic matter than subsoil because more biological activity occurs in the surface horizons. So the upper part of the subsoil is also called transition zone. So the upper part of the subsoil is also called as transition zone, and the lower part is accumulation zone. So clay, iron, and aluminum oxide, clay, aluminum oxide, and some places like calcium carbonate and other minerals are leached from the surface soil and transition zone and accumulate in the lower zone of subsoil. So in farm ponds, a new profile tends to appear. So soft organic and mineral sediments accumulate over the harder original pond bottom. So there is often a flocculate layer of particulate and colloidal matter, matter which is like appearance to the 1 to 10 centimeters or more thick above the soil sediments. So based on the structure, the soil properly depending on uh, layer. And another important character is color of the soil, like soil color. So soil exhibit a wide range of color. Soil exhibit a wide range of colors, and when covered with water, they often develop darker shades of the original colors. So like color charts such as a Munsell color charts, so which is widely used in soil classification has not been used in aquaculture. So Organic matter tend to the accumulate in soils and this materials darkness soils. So a brown crust at the soil water interface in a pond is a good sign for it indicates that there is dissolved oxygen at the interface. Next, in ponds, especially in ponds with acid certain soils, so yellow deposit of the mineral zorsite and even sulfur often may be seen interspersed with the reddish iron reddish iron deposits. When ponds with a layer of filamentous algae on the bottom are drained or dried. So a white layer often forms of the dry soil. So this layer is composed of dry algal filaments that have been bleached by the sun. So especially this is the uh, soil texture, soil profile, and color of the soil. And last one is soil nutrients. Soil nutrients. So soil nutrients include macronutrients and micronutrients required by required by mm, aquatic plants. Required by aquatic plants. So basic exchangeable caution calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium are plant macronutrients. So they originate from various minerals from which soil were formed. Like these ions are dissolved from minerals by water flowing over the land surface or infiltrate the soil. So next, limestone is a common source of calcium and magnesium in soil. Limestone is a common source of uh, calcium and magnesium in soil. Limestone may be calcitic like CaCO3, calcium carbonate, and dolomitic like MgCl, and carbonate with calcium and magnesium in other proportions. So nitrogen occurs in the soil as a constitute of both organic and inorganic properties. Both organic and inorganic properties are organic and inorganic substances. And a ratio of carbon and nitrogen, a ratio of carbon and nitrogen in natural ecosystem is usually established by uh, ratio of humus, like humus mean carbon and nitrogen ratio is called as humus, which is about 10, 10 is to 1. That's mean 10% is carbon and 1% is nitrogen. So the carbon nitrogen ratio is an important soil property because organic matter with a low or narrow so decomposes much faster than organic matter with a high or wide carbon nitrogen ratio, wider carbon and nitrogen ratio. And phosphorus is a key nutrient for phosphorus is a key nutrient for primary production. So soil phosphorus is present in minerals and organic matter, and there is an equilibrium between the consideration of phosphorus in the soil, consideration of phosphorus in the soil, uh, the soil solution, and phosphorus concentration in the soil solids. The equilibrium concentration of phosphorus in the soil solution or in water bodies is a major factor affecting productivity of natural ecosystem. Phosphate fertilizers are applied to overcome phosphorus limitations. So phosphorus not removed into the crop is largely bound in the soil forms. Soil forms uh, in uh, in soil forms not available. So phosphorus must be applied on a regular basis of maintaining adequate concentrations of available phosphorus for optimal production. And organic phosphorus contained organic matter is released by microbial activity. So like a portion of the phosphorus released in decomposition is absorbed by the plants, but the remainder react with ferrous, aluminum, calcium, and soil collides and is fixed in the soil. In flooded soils, microbial decomposition of organic matter can cause oxygen depletion and low reduction potential. So iron iron oxide uh, and iron phosphate depletion and low reduction potential. So iron form is iron oxide and phosphate compounds are converted to iron. So oxidative compounds that are more soluble than the trivalent forms, like trivalent forms. So this causes an increase in soluble iron and phosphorus in the soil solution. So concentrations of phosphorus in aerobic pond water uh, much greater than those in aerobic pore water from pond soils. And silicon is a constituent of soil mineral and a basic component of layered silicate occurs in the soil solution. Small concentration of these metals are needed for normal growth and development for plants and animals, but slightly higher concentrations of maybe toxic metals. So this is the soil nutrients of soil nutrients. Especially the soil, especially pond soil also has some kind of pH of soil, like especially in basic factories, 6.5 to 7.5 is the optimal ranges of culture pond soil. So that is very, very important. So, and another thing is liming. Liming is also under fertilizer. So liming is also very, very important. So especially liming means application of lime in fish ponds is an is old participates in many countries. So although some consider lime as a fertilizer because it supplies calcium to the pond, it has many other roles in the maintenance of pond productivity, such as correcting the acidity of soil and water. Spending up decomposition of organic matter, so helping to the bring different nutrients elements into the available form. So maintaining sanitation in the environment and raising bicarbonate content in the pond water, so that lack of carbon dioxide does not become a limiting factor of photosynthesis. So the lime increases with the decreases of pH of soil to be treated with increase in clay content. So like based on soil pH like 4.5 to 5 to 6, 6 to 6.5, 6.5 to 7.5. So especially the soil pH as 4.4 to 5. So the soil condition is highly acidic nature. So in this highly acidic nature contain the sandy soil is 1000 and medium is 2000 and clay soil is 3000. And the soil pH is 5 to 6. So that soil contain highly sorry, the soil pH is 5 to 6. The soil condition is moderately acidic nature. So in this acidic nature, the sandy soil is 600 and the medium soil is 1200 and clay soil is 1800 and 6 to 6.5. Soil pH is 6 to 6.5. So the soil condition is slightly acidic nature. So the slightly acidic nature, the soil contain sandy soil particles is 500 and the medium is 1000 and the clay soil is 1500. And 6.5 to 7.55 is soil pH. The soil condition is yearly neutral. So sandy soil is 200 and medium soil is 400 and clay soil is 600. So this is the different types of pH. So based on the soil particles like sandy particles, medium particles and clay particles. So this is the major important factors of soil. So today we have discussed in various topics like ecosystem, like aquatic environment, biotic factors, abiotic factors, and water quality parameters and soil quality parameters, and nuclear cycles, like cycle, and cycle. And one more topic is also discussed like planktons, like phytoplankton and zooplankton, and importance of plankton, phytoplankton, zooplanktons, and the importance of planktons. So this is the discuss about different topics of today class. So anybody have any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Another one, sir, please
No,
respond.
sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So you have any doubt? Immediately ask me.
అసైన్మెంట్స్ ఎప్పుడు సార్ ఇవ్వాలి మీకు?
సో అసైన్మెంట్స్ అని ఒకసారి సార్ని కన్సల్ట్ చేయండి అమ్మా. అంటే మరి ఏ టైంలో సబ్మిట్ చేస్తారో ఒకసారి సార్ని కన్సల్ట్ చేయండి ఒకసారి. అంటే అట్ ద టైమ్ ఆఫ్ ప్రాక్టికల్ సబ్మిట్ చేస్తారా లేకపోతే ముందే మనం సబ్మిట్ చేయమంటారు? ఒకసారి సార్ని కన్సల్ట్ చేసి చెప్పండి.
లేదు సార్. రీజనల్ సెంటర్‌లో సబ్మిట్ చేయాలా? లేకపోతే మేము పెట్టుకున్న సెంటర్‌లో సబ్మిట్ చేయాలా అన్నది డౌట్స్.
మీరు ఏ
వాళ్ళు
సెంటర్ అప్లై చేశారు?
మార్చని చెప్పారు.
మీరు ఏ సెంటర్లో అప్లై చేశారు? కాకినాడ?
కాకినాడ సార్.
ఓకే, అది ఒకసారి నేను సార్ని కనుక్కొని చెప్తానండి అమ్మ ఒకసారి. అంటే
సరే
యాక్చువల్గా ప్రాక్టికల్ రావడానికి కాకినాడ వస్తారు, కాకినాడ సెంటర్కి. సో ఫిజికల్గా మీరు
ప్రాక్టికల్స్ ఎప్పుడు ఉండొచ్చు?
అది డేట్ ఇంకా కన్ఫర్మ్ చేయలేదు, నేను సార్కి ఇంటిమేట్ చేసి దాన్ని ఫైనలైజ్ చేయిస్తాను.
సరే సార్.
సో అది వచ్చినప్పుడు ఆ టైంలో అవసరం సబ్మిట్ చేద్దరిగాని. సో ఆ డేట్ ఒకసారి నేను కన్ఫర్మ్ చేసి చెప్తానండి.
ఓకే సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
ఓకేనా.
ఓకే సార్.
बोलो डायरेक्ट यार. हेलो सर.
Sir, tell me, sir.
हेलो
Sir, tell me.
सर, प्रैक्टिकल के रिगार्डिंग कुछ पूछना है. कहाँ हमारे प्रैक्टिकल होंगे सर?
So, practicals are after completion of theory classes, sir.
आफ्टर कंप्लीटिंग द थ्योरी क्लासेस.
Yes, sir.
सर हमारा रीजनल सेंटर जैसे नोएडा है तो
Okay.
प्रैक्टिकल.
Once asking to regional center, sir.
यस सर.
Once asked to regional center.
ओके.
Okay. Clear, sir?
बट सर आप थ्योरी क्लास तो सर आप ही ले रहे हैं, तो प्रैक्टिकल के रिगार्डिंग भी इसी सेंटर पे होगा या नहीं होगा?
Sir?
क्योंकि थ्योरी तो आप
Sir,
थ्योरी
only
क्लास तो
for
सर आप ही.
sir, only for English, sir.
Sir, you are taking theory class, so will
Yes,
you
sir.
not take a practical class or
Practical
who
also,
will take
sir.
the practical class?
Practical also, sir.
Practical also.
Yes, sir.
Sir, will practical in a online mode or something? Do we have to visit in
So
personally?
maybe online, but in difficult condition, especially in physical condition.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, sir. Can I leave it?
Sir, project regarding or I have asked one thing regarding the project. So when will we get the topic of the project? Or who will be our supervisor?
So especially project to contact to Srivastava, sir, especially in regional center of Kakinada, coordinator.
Okay. Do I have to contact with the with whom?
So Srinivas, yes, sir. Sir,
Srinivas sir.
tomorrow class I will intimate everything like projects and practicals and each and everything.
Yes, sir. Please deliver the brief lecture on this topic, so we will get a clear idea about the
Okay,
projects
okay, sir.
and practical classes.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Okay,
sir.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Definitely, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much,
Nice
sir.
to meet you, sir.
Okay, sir. Nice. Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam.
ఓకే సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
Okay, madam. Thank you.
ఓకే.